Hey, y'all, I want to talk about drop two voicings. This is such, a common part of guitar, part of the technique that we're all supposed to know about. We've at least seen it. Drop two voicings, drop two voicings, drop three. What is this drop system? What's the point? How do we kind of figure out what it is and how to use it without getting kind of too lost in the weeds? So, essentially, there are a few different ways to organize a four note voicing. Typically, a four note chord we would consider seventh chords, but there are other possibilities with four notes that aren't strictly seventh chords. But we're just going to start with seven chords today. So if I play C major 7, C, E, G, B, that's all well and good. I can play those orders. I can play those notes in that exact order on a couple places, on the guitar. Using some open strings helps as well. But when we talk about inversions, it gets really tricky to play the inversions of a C major 7 at face value. So if I take C, E, G, B, and I just move those all, to the right, basically, if I wrote it out, C, E, G, B, well, I'd play E, G, B, C. That's my next inversion, first inversion, right? Well, if I play E, G, B, C, if I try to do that on the guitar, now I'm looking like this, and I can't even do it. You can do it with an open string, E, G, B, C, but that's not going to work for all chords because not all chords have the luxury of using an open string. Sometimes that's not the sound or timbre you want, anyways. If I keep going, my next one would be G, B, C, E. Yeah, I can do it here. It sounds nice, but not something I'm really going to be able to grab all the time or something that I want to use. And then the last one, B, C, E, G, is, it's this. Completely impossible unless I have an open string. So when we have a closed position voicing, that's what we started with, C, E, G, B, right? All the notes are within an octave. From the lowest note to the highest note, you have a span of a major seventh, right? So any closed position voicing is one whose order of notes is in the smallest order possible, and it's going to be within an octave. Any chord, closed position is under an octave. So those inversions are really tricky on guitar. On piano, you just go blah 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 blah. It's super linear. You can totally, play it. But on guitar, we can't do it. So there's an arranging technique, one that pianists use as well and guitarists use, and also for big band writing or larger ensembles, where you drop one of the voices and now you get a more spread out voicing. And on guitar, technically, it's easier to handle on a technical level. So let's pretend. Well, I'm not going to pretend. Let's visualize our four note voicings like on our hand like this. This is how I like to do it. So the drop system, whether it's drop 2, drop 3, drop 2 and 4, there's 5 of them total. We're talking about building a chord from the top down or defining it from the top down. So if I say, well, play me a drop 2 voicing, you're going to take your closed position chord, take the second note from the top, and move it down an octave. So now they get a little more spread out. So if I had C, E, G, B, G is my second note from the top, and that's going to go down an octave. So now I have G, C, E, B. Sounds like this. So I went from this, C, E, G, B. That G needs to go down an octave. Now the other notes stay the same. So C, E, and B are still right here, but I've got to maneuver, play a little different fingering. I can do it here too. All right, so now I've got this nice sound. The seventh is my melody, still the same melody note, but it's a bit more spread out, and I can play it. And now I want to figure out the inversions of this, because what I've landed on, if you do this, G's in the bass, so I'm in second inversion. So I need to find my other inversions. How do I do this? Well, same process as before with the closed position. You just need to go up or down to the next closest chord tone. So G is going to go down to E, C goes down to B, E goes down to C, and B goes down to G. Ooh, I get this nice pretty first inversion, C major 7. completely changes the color of it. Then of course this one you probably have played all the time. If I ask someone, hey, play me a C major 7, they're probably going to do this. This is our root position, drop 2, C major 7. So the point of this, and then there's one more up here. Nice third inversion, B, E, G, C. I can do it. A little hard on the nylon. We're down here. You know, the reason why these are important to kind of categorize is for a couple reasons. You know, because once you know what this is called, naming something gives you power, gives you some control over it. So now it's something you can manipulate. Okay, if I know that this is a drop 2 voicing, if I move the notes to the next closest chord tone, I'm going to get the inversions of that specific voicing type, which is going to be important because for me, I'm always thinking melody. What's on the top? Well, here I'm harmonizing the root. Here I'm harmonizing the 7th. Here I'm harmonizing the 5th. And here I'm harmonizing the 3rd. Those give me different options for melody. It's all about melody. And the other thing is obviously having a broader scope of chord grips on the guitar and knowing when to use them and how to use them and in different scenarios. So you can group drop 2 voicings as far as the string sets that they're possible on. So generally a drop 2 voicing is going to be one that has 4 consecutive strings. Obviously there's lots of caveats. You can technically play drop 2 voicings where you're skipping strings, but by and large these voicings work really great with 4 adjacent strings. So if you think of 4 adjacent strings, you have 3 places you can do that. E, E, D, G, A, D, G, B, and D, G, B, E. So I've got 3 distinct places where I can play these voicings and start learning these shapes, which again gives me a broader scope of how to harmonize melodies, gives me different areas to, different range on the instrument to play chord shapes, and that's especially helpful if I'm in a solo guitar context versus a big band versus, a quintet or all sorts of stuff. I want to have all of the possibilities so I'm not getting in someone's way, or I'm just able to access different timbres. So if I play C major 7 on all 3 string sets, it's going to sound like this. I'm going to start from the lowest I can. So I'm going to do this second inversion, C major 7. Third inversion, C major 7, root, and first inversion. Then on the second string set, I've got this. The ones I showed you. On the top, again, these are ones you've played, probably seen. Especially this one, it's like, oh wait, that kind of looks like an A minor 9. Yes, I'm going to get to that later. Right, so now I've got all these. Cool. So the next step for this is going through the 5 different types, kind of 5 families of 7 chords. So the order that I like to go in is major 7, dominant 7, minor 7 flat 5, and fully diminished 7. The reason why I do that order is because between each of those you're only changing one note. You're actually lowering one note each time. So from C major 7 to C dominant 7, my B, my 7, is going to B flat, a dominant 7. So now I figure out these shapes. But the only note changing is, B going to B flat. And, there's lots of literature on this as far as how to voice them and stuff. I'm just kind of showing you the process. Again, you've probably played this one. You maybe played this one. Some of them you're going to find that they're familiar or they look like something else. So you start to kind of, I call it like the Jenga effect. You have this ivory tower of like all this material and esoteric knowledge that you need to know, and then you start pulling out blocks one by one, and then eventually it all tumbles on the ground. And now these are pieces that you can play around and build your own tower of your own information, or build whatever the hell you want. C minor 7. Oh god, sorry. Alright, C minor 7 flat 5. And C fully diminished. It's all the same shape. So this is kind of just a cursory look at our drop 2 voicings. Just to recap, if you have a closed position chord, one that is, all the notes are as close as possible, they're under an octave from bottom to top, these are really difficult to play the inversions on the guitar. And they're just not, it's not a useful chord vocabulary to use closed position voicings. So by dropping the second note from the top down an octave, you get a little more spacing, and you're able to grab them on the guitar pretty easily. And you have three logical places to play them on the instrument. Four adjacent strings, so you've got three string sets to kind of deal with on a horizontal kind of level. E, A, D, G, A, D, G, B, and D, G, B, E. Those are kind of the three places you want to look at to find these shapes, because they're all going to look a little bit different, unfortunately, because of the way the guitar is tuned, but that just is what it is. I recommend starting with the middle string set and the top string set. I feel like those have a lot of utility, and they're going to be shapes that you might already know and recognize. And then moving to the first string set, E, A, D, G, after that, just because those are maybe a little more unfamiliar, but certainly beautiful and really worthwhile. So hope this was a little bit helpful for you, and enjoy your quest into the realm, the world of drop voicings. It's a really, really fun thing to do. There's lots of applications. You can start adding extensions or voice leading through chord progressions, but I think it's just good to go through systematically your 7th chord voicings, going from major 7, dominant 7, minor 7, minor 7 flat 5, and then fully diminished. I think that'll be a good start. All right, see ya.